The Simple Path to Wealth. Introduction. What if wealth wasn't complicated? What if you didn't need to be a financial expert to retire comfortably, or even early? In this video, we explore the simple path to wealth, a life-changing guide to mastering money, escaping debt, investing wisely, and achieving true freedom. Whether you're just starting out or feeling stuck financially, this is your roadmap to peace of mind and independence. No fluff, no jargon, just timeless principles that actually work. Ready to stop stressing about money and start building wealth on your terms? Let's dive in. Section 1. The Wealth Mindset. Before we talk numbers, investments, or retirement accounts, we need to address something far more important: your mindset. Because here's the truth. Wealth doesn't begin with a paycheck. It begins with a perspective. You can earn a lot and still stay broke if your thinking is rooted in scarcity, status, or short-term gratification. But when your mindset shifts, when you begin to see money not as the goal, but as a tool, that's when your financial journey truly begins. This is where the simple path to wealth begins, with a conversation not about how to get rich, but about why. J.L. Collins originally wrote the ideas in this book as a series of letters to his daughter. He wasn't trying to turn her into a stock trader or financial wizard. He wanted to prepare her for a life of freedom, a life where money wasn't a source of stress, but a source of security, peace, and choice. And in doing so, he stumbled onto something powerful. The most important part of wealth building isn't knowledge, it's mindset. So what is the wealth mindset? At its core, it's understanding that money is simply a tool. It's not the end goal. It's not a symbol of your value or a scoreboard of success. It's just a means to an end. And that end is freedom. The ability to choose how you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what kind of life you want to create. When you internalize that, everything changes. This is a radical shift for many of us. We've been trained from a young age to think like consumers, not owners. From the moment we start earning, we're bombarded with messages telling us that more spending equals more happiness. That the car, the outfit, the house, the vacation, those are the markers of a life well lived. But J.L. Collins challenges that idea. He invites us to see money not as something to burn through for temporary pleasure, but as something to save, invest, and grow, so it can buy us something far more valuable: our time back. Freedom is the ultimate wealth. Not a mansion, not a sports car, not a Rolex. True wealth is the ability to walk away from a job you hate, to take a month off when life demands it, to sleep well at night knowing your bills are paid, and to retire decades earlier than most. That kind of freedom doesn't happen by accident. It happens by adopting the wealth mindset. Without this foundation, even the best financial strategies won't stick. You'll hear advice like, invest in index funds or avoid debt. But if your mindset is still caught up in chasing status or short-term thrills, you won't follow through. You'll sabotage your own progress. That's why Collins starts here. Because mindset is the lens through which all financial decisions are made. So how do you begin developing this wealth mindset in your own life? First, you shift from consumerism to ownership. Instead of asking, "What can I buy with this money?" ask, "How can I make this money work for me?" That doesn't mean you never enjoy your earnings. It means you learn to find joy in building something lasting. It means choosing delayed gratification over instant pleasure. It means understanding that every dollar saved and invested is a seed for future freedom. Second, you stop thinking in terms of luxury and start thinking in terms of independence. For example, instead of dreaming about a $50,000 car, Dream about what it would feel like to have $50,000 invested and earning returns for you. Instead of tying your identity to what you own, begin to tie it to what you can choose. The freedom to travel, to take creative risks, to care for loved ones, to live life on your own terms. A real-world example of this mindset is seen in the way J.L. Collins approached teaching his daughter about money. He didn't overwhelm her with complex financial strategies. He gave her the mindset first. He told her to avoid debt, to live below her means, and to invest in low-cost index funds. But most importantly, he taught her to see money as her ally. Not a burden, not a master, but a tool for crafting a life of freedom. This kind of mindset is accessible to everyone, regardless of where you're starting from. You don't need to be rich to begin thinking like the wealthy. In fact, it's often those who've had to be resourceful, those who've had to stretch every dollar, who are best positioned to make this mindset shift because they already understand the value of money and the cost of financial stress. Let's be clear. The wealth mindset doesn't mean never spending money. It doesn't mean hoarding or living like a monk. It means spending intentionally. It means aligning your spending with your values. If freedom is your highest value, then you begin prioritizing savings, investments, and debt-free living over consumer trends or social comparisons. And here's where the real magic happens. When you adopt the wealth mindset, you begin to experience a kind of peace that most people never feel. You're not constantly chasing the next thing. You're not trying to impress others or fill emotional voids with shopping sprees. You're focused, clear, and purposeful. And every financial decision you make becomes a step toward your freedom. This mindset also protects you when life gets messy. And it will. Markets crash. Jobs get lost. Emergencies happen. But when your mindset is rooted in simplicity, independence, and long-term thinking, you don't panic. You stay the course. Because you're not trying to get rich quick. You're trying to get free. And that's a much more powerful motivator. So here's your challenge for today. A simple but powerful question. What does financial freedom look like to you? Not the vague idea of being rich, but the actual details. What would your day look like if you didn't have to worry about money? Where would you go? Who would you be with? What kind of work would you do or not do? Define it. Write it down. Because once you have a clear vision, every financial decision becomes easier. You can ask yourself, does this bring me closer to that freedom or farther away? Remember, the journey to wealth doesn't begin with an investment account. It begins with a decision to think differently, to value freedom over flash, to trust that simple, consistent action over time will get you where you want to go. That's the wealth mindset. And once it clicks, everything else becomes simple. Section 2. Avoiding debt and escaping the trap. Debt. It's the silent predator lurking behind every paycheck, every shopping spree, and every monthly bill that comes with interest attached. It doesn't roar. It whispers. It invites you to live a little, to enjoy life now, and to pay later. But make no mistake, debt is a trap. And J.L. Collins pulls no punches about this. He calls it what it is, a financial prison. And the sooner we recognize it as such, the sooner we can escape. In The Simple Path to Wealth, Collins makes it clear. Avoiding debt is not optional if you want to build lasting financial freedom. Why? Because debt doesn't just take your money. It takes your peace, your options, your ability to invest, and ultimately, your future. You cannot invest your way to wealth if your interest payments are bleeding you dry. You can't move forward if you're dragging a ball and chain of past purchases behind you. And here's the kicker. Debt traps everyone. not just those with low incomes. In fact, some of the most trapped people are those who make six figures and still live paycheck to paycheck. Why? Because their lifestyle inflated as their income rose. They bought the car, they upgraded the house, they put the vacation on the credit card. The raise came, and the expenses grew with it. This is called lifestyle creep, and it's one of the most dangerous enemies of wealth. It creates the illusion of prosperity, but it's built on sand. Imagine this: two people making $100,000 a year. One lives on $70,000, invests the rest, and avoids debt like the plague. The other finances two new cars, carries $15,000 in credit card debt, and spends every bonus upgrading their lifestyle. 10 years later, one has a growing investment portfolio and the freedom to work or not work. The other has flashy things, but nothing to show for it, and stress to spare. Debt doesn't care how much you make. It only cares how much you owe. And if you're paying 18 to 24% interest on a credit card, there is no investment on earth, not even the mighty stock market, that can outpace that cost. That's why Collins doesn't suggest managing debt. He says obliterate it, kill it, burn the bridge, and never look back. The most dangerous form of debt is high-interest consumer debt, things like credit cards, payday loans, and store financing. These are designed to keep you stuck. Every time you pay the minimum, you're feeding the beast. And even when you think you're getting ahead, the interest pulls you back down. It's financial quicksand. So how do you escape this trap? J.L. Collins recommends two things. Never take on high-interest debt in the first place, and if you already have it, make getting rid of it your top financial priority. Before you start investing, before you save for a house, before you dream about retirement, kill the debt. Why? Because every dollar you pay off is a guaranteed return. If your credit card interest is 20%, paying it off is like earning 20% on your money. Risk-free. That's powerful. Practically, one of the most effective ways to do this is the avalanche method. Here's how it works. You list all your debts, from highest interest rate to lowest. You continue making minimum payments on all of them, but you throw every extra dollar at the highest interest debt first. Once that's gone, you move to the next highest. It's not always the most emotionally satisfying method. The snowball method, which tackles smallest balances first, can be more motivating. But avalanche is the most mathematically efficient. And when you're fighting for your financial life, efficiency matters. Let's look at a real-world example. Imagine someone with $30,000 in credit card and personal loan debt. Their minimum payments are $800 a month, and the average interest rate is 20%. That means they're paying $6,000 a year in interest alone, money that does nothing for them except keep them afloat. Now imagine that same $800 being invested monthly into a low-cost index fund. Over 10 years, that could turn into more than $140,000. The opportunity cost of staying in debt is staggering, and yet millions of people stay stuck here. Not because they're lazy or irresponsible, but because debt has been normalized. Banks call it leverage. Advertisers call it buy now, pay later. Culture calls it living your best life. But it's none of those things. It's a cage. And once you're in, it's hard to get out. Because debt doesn't just steal money, it steals hope. It makes you feel behind. It fills you with shame. It causes stress in relationships. It affects your health. It makes you think that freedom is impossible. But here's the truth. Collins wants you to hear. You can escape. And you must. Because your future depends on it. If you're in debt right now, don't panic. Don't despair. Just begin. Start by facing the numbers. Make a list of every debt you owe, the balance, the interest rate, the monthly payment. Don't hide. Don't sugarcoat. Just be brutally honest. That list is your enemy, but it's also your roadmap. Once you've got the list, calculate your freedom date, the day you'll be debt-free if you go all in. Make a plan, cut expenses, sell things, pick up side income. But most importantly, get obsessed with one thing: getting out. Make it a game. Make it your mission. Make it the mountain you're going to conquer. Because once you're debt-free, the doors of wealth swing wide open. Suddenly, your money is yours again. You can save, invest, and grow it without the constant leak of interest payments. You can breathe. You can plan. You can build. And if you haven't yet fallen into the debt trap, let this be your wake-up call to stay out. Avoid financing cars. Pay off your credit card every month. Don't borrow for wants, only for needs. And even then, with caution. The best kind of debt is no debt. Debt isn't just a financial issue. It's a freedom issue. And that's what the simple path to wealth is all about. Freedom. Every dollar of debt you pay off is a step closer to that freedom. Every payment you avoid by not borrowing is a victory. Every time you choose to live below your means, you're taking power back. So here's your challenge today. List every debt you have. Be specific. Then ask yourself, if I made this my focus, how long would it take me to be free? That's your freedom date. Circle it on the calendar. Work backward. Get aggressive. Get creative. But get serious. Because every day you stay in debt is a day your dreams are on hold. You don't need a miracle to get out of debt. You just need a plan, a mindset, and a burning desire to be free. And once you're out, stay out. Because that's when the real journey to wealth begins. Section 3. Spend less than you earn. If there were a single phrase that could act as the cornerstone of wealth, it would be this: spend less than you earn. It sounds simple, maybe even obvious, but it is profoundly powerful. In fact, this one idea is the heartbeat of the simple path to wealth. Without it, nothing else in the book matters. You can understand investing inside and out, have the perfect portfolio, and even earn a six-figure salary. But if you don't spend less than you earn, you'll always be treading water financially. You'll never build wealth, you'll only ever chase it. Why? Because you cannot invest what you do not save. J.L. Collins explains that your savings rate, the percentage of your income that you set aside instead of spend, is the most important factor in how quickly you can achieve financial independence. Not your income, not your investment returns, not your stock picks, your savings rate. It's the engine that drives the car. Think about it. If you earn $4,000 a month and spend $4,000, your savings rate is 0%. Even if you have a great job, you're not moving forward. You're working to sustain your lifestyle, not build your future. On the other hand, if you earn $4,000 and spend $3,000, you're saving $1,000 every month. That's $12,000 a year. Money that can be invested, grown, and used to buy your freedom. This principle is powerful because it puts the control back in your hands. You might not be able to double your income overnight, but you can reduce your spending today. And even if your income is modest, if you manage to live significantly below your means, you can still build wealth over time. In fact, some of the wealthiest people in America are not flashy tech founders or high-earning doctors. They're quiet, everyday people who embraced this principle and stuck with it. They are what Thomas Stanley and William Danko called the millionaire next door. The millionaire next door isn't driving a brand new luxury car. He's driving a reliable used vehicle that's paid off. He isn't wearing designer brands or dining out every night. He's packing lunch, shopping smart, and living in a modest home in a decent neighborhood. His wealth is hidden, not flaunted, but it's real, it's growing, and it gives him peace and power most people never experience. That's the beauty of frugality, not as a punishment, but as a path to freedom. Too many people hear frugality and think sacrifice, but J.L. Collins reframes it. He shows that frugality is not about deprivation, it's about deliberation. It's about aligning your spending with what truly brings you value and cutting out the rest. Why spend $5 on a coffee every day when you can brew it at home for pennies and invest the difference? Why buy a brand new car when a reliable used one will get you to the same places without draining your wallet? Frugality means learning the difference between needs and wants, between status and substance, between impulse and intention. It's about being clear on your goals and letting those goals guide your financial decisions. Now, this doesn't mean you have to live like a hermit. Collins isn't asking you to eliminate all joy from your life. He's asking you to be intentional, to understand that every dollar you don't spend is a dollar that can be saved, invested, and put to work buying back your time. So, how do you start spending less than you earn? Step 1 is awareness. You cannot improve what you don't measure. Track your expenses for the next month, every dollar. Use a spreadsheet, an app like YNAB or Mint, or a simple notebook. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you get a clear picture of where your money is going. You might be surprised. The $9 subscription here, the $30 impulse buy there, the $200 on restaurants, it all adds up. Awareness is the first step toward change. Step 2 is cutting the fat. Look at your list of expenses and ask yourself, what could I cut by 10% this month without really feeling it? Could I cancel that subscription I never use? Could I cook more meals at home? Could I swap the gym membership for free outdoor workouts? The truth is, many of us have dozens of small leaks in our financial boats. Plugging just a few of them can lead to significant savings over time. Step 3 is increasing the gap between your income and expenses. You can do this by cutting spending and/or raising income. Take on a side hustle. Ask for a raise. Sell things you don't use. Start a small online business. There are countless ways to boost your income today, and every extra dollar you don't spend is a dollar closer to financial independence. And here's the exciting part. The more you save, the faster you can buy your freedom. J.L. Collins breaks it down like this. If you save 10% of your income, it might take you 50 years to retire. But if you save 50%, you could retire in just 15 to 17 years. The math is simple. The higher your savings rate, the less time you spend working for money, and the more time you spend letting money work for you. Let's look at a quick example. Say you earn $60,000 per year and spend $40,000. That's a 33% savings rate. If you invest that $20,000 each year in a low-cost index fund with an average return of 7%, in 20 years, you'll have over $820,000. That's not counting compound growth beyond that point. Now imagine cutting your expenses even more, or increasing your income. You can easily shave years off your working life. The key isn't perfection, it's progress. Every dollar saved is a step toward freedom. Every expense questioned is a moment of clarity. Every intentional decision compounds into a life of independence. So here's your challenge. How much did you spend last month? If you don't know, find out. Pull your bank statements, your credit card bills, your receipts. Tally it up. Then ask yourself, could I cut 10% without pain? Not suffering, not starvation, just smarter choices. A 10% cut might mean skipping a few takeouts, canceling a streaming service, or downsizing one part of your lifestyle. But the long-term impact? Huge. The ability to spend less than you earn is a superpower. It's what separates the financially secure from the financially stressed. It's what allows you to build wealth even on a modest income. It's the silent discipline that creates loud results. And best of all, it's completely within your control. You don't have to wait for a promotion. You don't need a financial advisor. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to make one powerful decision: to live on less than you make, to build a gap, and then grow that gap. That gap is your freedom. That gap is your future. So start today. Cut 10%. Track everything. Reclaim control. And watch what happens when you begin living below your means instead of above them. Because that's how wealth begins. Not with a lottery ticket or a lucky break, but with one small, consistent decision. Spend less than you earn. Section 4. The power of FU money. There's a concept in the simple path to wealth that's both practical and deeply empowering. J.L. Collins calls it FU money crude? Maybe. But its raw honesty is part of what makes it so potent. It's not just about having money in the bank. It's about having the power to walk away from a job, a boss, a toxic relationship, or a system that doesn't align with your values. It's about reclaiming your autonomy in a world where most people are trapped by financial dependency. So what exactly is FU money? In its simplest form, FU money is the financial cushion that allows you to make decisions based on what you want, not what you need to survive. It's enough saved and invested that you're not forced to say yes when you want to scream no. It's the space between desperation and dignity, between being stuck and having a choice. J.L. Collins doesn't glamorize wealth for its own sake. He isn't advocating for private jets and golden watches. What he's offering is far more valuable: freedom. And FU money is the gateway to that freedom. Imagine this. You're working in a job that drains you. The culture is toxic, the hours are brutal, and your boss treats you like you're disposable. But you can't leave because the bills are due, the rent is coming, and your savings are non-existent. So you stay. You swallow your pride. You endure. Now, contrast that with someone who has a buffer, a savings account with 12 months of expenses. That person walks in, hears the same abuse, and smiles. They say, "Thanks, but I'm done here." That's the power of FU money. Collins tells the story of his own turning point. After decades in the corporate world, he reached a moment where enough was enough. The job wasn't worth it anymore, but unlike many, he could walk away without fear. Why? Because he'd been quietly building his financial cushion for years. He didn't need the paycheck anymore. That freedom gave him the clarity and confidence to live life on his own terms. This isn't about recklessness. It's not about flipping off your boss just for fun. It's about having the option to choose integrity over income. It's about not being financially coerced into situations that compromise your well-being. FU money is your escape hatch, your lifeline, your silent source of strength when everything else feels out of control. And here's the best part. You don't need to be a millionaire to have it. You can start building FU money with a simple, practical goal: 6 to 12 months of living expenses, saved and easily accessible. That's it. Not your dream retirement number. Not some elusive financial independence target. Just enough to breathe. Enough to pause. Enough to make clear-headed decisions without the sword of debt or unemployment hanging over you. This is your emergency fund, but upgraded. It's not just for flat tires and medical bills. It's for moments of truth. When your values are tested. When you're offered a job that doesn't align with your goals. When you want to take a sabbatical, start a business, or just take a break to find your footing again. You money is your permission slip to live boldly, not desperately. So, how do you start building it? First, know your number. What are your monthly living expenses, truly? Not your income, not your lifestyle spending. Your bare minimum needs: rent or mortgage, groceries, utilities, transportation, insurance. The essentials. Total that up and multiply by 6 to 12. That's your FU money target. For many people, it's somewhere between $10,000 and $30,000. It's not small, but it's not impossible either. Then, create a dedicated account for this money. Don't mix it with your checking account. Label it clearly: Freedom Fund, Walkaway Money, FU Money, whatever inspires you. Automate contributions to it each month. Treat it like a non-negotiable bill, because, in a sense, it is. You're buying your future freedom in installments. Next, protect it. This money is not for vacations or upgrades or splurges. It's not for new gadgets or nights out. It's sacred. It's the moat around your mental and emotional well-being. It's not meant to be touched until you need it most. And here's the beautiful irony. Once you have FU money, you'll probably need it less often. Why? Because you'll act from a place of strength, not fear. You'll carry yourself differently in negotiations. You'll take smart risks. You'll be less likely to tolerate disrespect or burnout. People can sense when you're not financially desperate, and that confidence changes everything. It's not about being rich. It's about being resilient. Let's look at a real-life example. Sarah is a 35-year-old project manager earning $70,000 a year. She lives modestly and saves 30% of her income. Over time, she builds up $25,000 in savings, roughly 9 months of expenses. One day, her company gets bought out, and the new leadership begins gutting departments. The culture shifts. Toxicity grows. People are afraid. But Sarah isn't, because she knows something others don't. She has options. She takes her time. She interviews carefully. She finds a remote job with better pay and a healthier environment. She makes a move from strength, not survival. That's the hidden power of FU money. It gives you leverage in a world that often robs you of it. And it's not just about jobs. FU money can save you from bad relationships, too. Many people stay in unhealthy or even abusive situations because they don't feel financially secure enough to leave. Building a cushion isn't just a financial strategy. It's a tool for personal empowerment. It can be the difference between staying stuck and stepping into the life you deserve. So ask yourself this: how much money would you need to say no without fear? Not just no to bills, but no to disrespect, burnout, and regret. That's your number. Write it down. Make it your mission. Build toward it with every paycheck, every side hustle, every smart spending choice. Because FU money isn't about being reckless. It's about reclaiming control. It's the quiet confidence of knowing that if everything goes sideways, you'll still be okay. It's the strength to choose principle over panic. It's the peace that comes from knowing you're not trapped. And ultimately, it's what gives the rest of the simple path to wealth its meaning. Because wealth, in its purest form, isn't about consumption. It's about freedom. FU money is your first taste of that freedom. And once you've had it, you'll never want to go back. So start now. Build your cushion. Claim your power. Because nothing in your financial life will feel as good or as liberating as knowing that you can walk away and still stand tall. Section 5. The stock market is your ally. Let's face it, the stock market gets a bad rap. It's seen by many as a chaotic casino, a mysterious place where fortunes are made and lost by slick traders in fast-paced suits. But if there's one myth the simple path to wealth shatters, it's this. The stock market isn't your enemy. It's your greatest ally. If you understand how to use it wisely, it can quietly, steadily, and powerfully build your wealth while you sleep. J.L. Collins puts it bluntly. The stock market is a wealth-building machine, but it only works for those who know how to play the long game. It's not about chasing hot stocks or timing the next crash. It's about participating in the growth of the global economy by owning pieces of the best companies in the world and doing it consistently, simply, and patiently. Here's the truth. Over the long term, the stock market has always gone up. Yes, it dips. Yes, it crashes. But it recovers. Historically, it's returned about 7% annually after inflation, which means that your money doubles roughly every 10 years. No savings account, no certificate of deposit, no checking balance can come close to that kind of growth. So why do so many people stay out of the market? Fear, confusion, misinformation, and above all, a lack of trust. That's why Collins wrote his famous stock series, to explain, in plain English, how the market works, and more importantly, how you can win with it. The foundation of his advice: invest in low-cost, broad-based index funds. More specifically, he recommends VTSAX, the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. Why? Because it gives you instant ownership in over 4,000 companies across every sector of the U.S. economy. Tech, healthcare, finance, energy, consumer goods, it's all there. If the economy grows, you grow. If the market thrives, you thrive. You're not betting on one company. You're betting on human progress. Now, let's pause for a moment and look at real numbers. Over the past 30 years, VTSAX has returned an average of about 10% annually. That means if you invested $10,000 in 1994 and left it alone, by 2024, you'd have over $170,000. That's not magic. That's the miracle of compounding, powered by consistent investing in the stock market. But here's the catch. This only works if you stay in the game. You can't panic sell every time the market drops. You can't try to time the dips or chase the next big thing. The secret is to keep investing, month after month, year after year, regardless of the headlines. As Collins says, the market always recovers. Always. He tells the story of his daughter, the primary reason he started writing about money in the first place. He wanted to leave her with a roadmap, something simple, effective, and timeless. And his advice? Put your money into VTSAX, keep your costs low, don't try to beat the market, and let time do the heavy lifting. That's it. No day trading, no predictions. Just simple, steady investing. It's worth mentioning why index funds are so powerful. First, they're diversified. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket. You're spreading risk across thousands of companies. Second, they're low cost. Traditional mutual funds charge fees that eat away at your gains. Index funds like VTSAX charge less than 0.05% annually. That means more of your money stays invested and growing. Third, they're passive, which means less stress, less research, and fewer decisions to make. You just set it and forget it. This approach might sound boring, and that's the point. Boring investing is often the most profitable. It avoids the emotional roller coaster. It shields you from the flashy but risky trends, and it rewards discipline over time. Think of it this way. Every dollar you invest in the stock market is a tiny worker you're sending out into the world. Over time, those workers generate returns. They create more dollars, and those new dollars become workers too. Your job? Keep sending more workers out. Keep feeding the system. And one day, your army of dollars will be working so efficiently that you won't have to. Let's look at another example. Meet David. He's 25 and just getting started. He decides to invest $500 a month into VTSAX. Nothing flashy, just a consistent habit. By the time he's 65, assuming a 7% return, he'll have over $1.3 million. He never made a fortune. He didn't win the lottery. He simply used the stock market as his ally and gave it time to work its magic. Compare that with someone who saves their money by keeping it in a traditional bank account. With inflation averaging around 3% annually, their purchasing power shrinks every year. They may feel safe, but safety comes at a cost: the slow erosion of wealth. That's why Collins is so passionate about getting people into the market, not because it's trendy, but because it works. And remember, investing doesn't mean gambling. Gambling is unpredictable, short-term, and emotionally charged. Investing is patient, long-term, and grounded in data. It's the difference between playing a slot machine and planting a tree. So here's your challenge today. Are you investing, or are you just saving? Are you letting your money grow, or are you letting it sit idle? If you haven't started, now is the time. You don't need thousands of dollars. You can start with $50. What matters is building the habit. Open a brokerage account. Choose a low-cost index fund. Set up automatic contributions. Ignore the noise. Trust the process. And watch what happens in 10, 20, 30 years. This is how ordinary people become millionaires, not overnight, but over time. J.L. Collins reminds us that the market doesn't care about headlines, tweets, or political drama. It reflects the long-term growth of businesses and the economy. And when you invest in it wisely, you tap into the same engine that has built wealth for generations. The stock market isn't something to fear. It's something to understand, something to harness. And when used right, it becomes your quiet partner in building a life of freedom. So take that first step. Don't let fear hold you back. Don't wait for the perfect moment, because it never comes. Instead, trust in the simple path. Trust in history. And most of all, trust in your future. The stock market is your ally. Now go and make it work for you. Section 6. The magic of index funds. Let's cut through the noise. When it comes to investing, there are two roads you can take. One is crowded, noisy, filled with financial experts shouting conflicting advice, flashy apps promising 10x returns, hot stock tips, hedge funds, and high-stakes trading. The other road? Quiet, simple, almost boring. But here's the kicker. That second road consistently outperforms the first. That road is index fund investing, and it's the magic key that J.L. Collins advocates for in The Simple Path to Wealth. The core idea is this: simplicity beats complexity, especially in investing. Index funds, particularly total stock market index funds like VTSAX, are not just beginner-friendly. They're what many of the world's smartest investors recommend for everyone, including professionals. That's not because people aren't smart enough to pick stocks. It's because even the smartest professionals often can't beat the market consistently, especially after fees, taxes, and human emotion take their toll. So, what exactly is an index fund? It's a type of mutual fund designed to track a market index, like the S&P 500 or, in the case of VTSAX, the entire U.S. stock market. Instead of trying to pick winning stocks, the fund owns a tiny piece of everything, from Apple and Amazon to the coffee company you've never heard of. This diversification makes index funds inherently less risky, but more importantly, They match the performance of the market itself, which historically has been one of the most powerful wealth-building tools in existence. J. L. Collins didn't stumble onto index funds by accident. Like many of us, he first tried the hard way, picking stocks, chasing returns, and trying to beat the system. But over time, he realized the market is humbling. Most investors, including professional money managers, fail to outperform the market. Study after study confirms this. In fact, over 90% of actively managed mutual funds underperform index funds over a 15-year period. That's right. Most of the people paid to beat the market can't even keep up with it. Why? Because of fees, poor timing, emotional decisions, and the sheer unpredictability of markets. Active fund managers not only charge higher fees, sometimes 1 to 2% annually or more, but they also buy and sell frequently, generating capital gains taxes and transaction costs that eat into your returns. In contrast, index funds are low-cost, low-maintenance, and tax-efficient. They don't try to beat the market. They become the market and let it do the heavy lifting. Collins' famous recommendation is simple. Buy VTSAX. Invest regularly. Don't touch it. Let time and compounding do their thing. And he didn't just recommend this strategy to readers, he gave it to the person he cares about most. His daughter. In fact, the entire foundation of the simple path to wealth came from the letters and lessons he wrote to her. He wanted her to be free, not just financially secure, but free from fear, complexity, and dependence on others for her future. Her entire portfolio? 100% in VTSAX. That's it. No bonds, no REITs, no crypto. Just one single fund that covers the entire market. Think about that for a moment. A fully diversified portfolio. Thousands of companies from every industry, of every size, all in one fund. And the cost? Just 0.04% in annual fees. That means for every $10,000 invested, you pay only $4 per year in management fees. Compare that to traditional mutual funds charging 1%. That's $100 per year on the same amount. Over decades, that difference is staggering. High fees quietly rob you of your future. Index funds protect it. Let's go deeper. If you invest $500 per month for 30 years with a 7% average return after inflation, you'll end up with about $567,000. But if you're paying just 1% more in fees, your portfolio drops to about $432,000. A difference of over $135,000 just because of fees. That's why Collins is passionate about this. Fees matter. They seem small, but over decades, they take a massive bite out of your wealth. Now, you might hear some people say, but what about the next big thing? I want to invest in AI or tech or the next Tesla. That kind of thinking is seductive, but it's dangerous. Markets are efficient. By the time you hear about a hot stock, chances are its future is already priced in. Plus, for every Tesla, there are 50 companies that crash and burn. Collins' advice? Don't try to outguess the market. Own the whole thing. Let the winners pull your portfolio up, and let the losers quietly fall away in the background. With VTSAX, you win by not trying to win. A common question is, should I invest in just one fund? And Collins answers with confidence, yes, one fund is enough. VTSAX covers every sector, every company type, and every size. You don't need to pick and choose. You just need to show up, contribute regularly, and trust the process. That's the beauty of index investing. It's simple, but not simplistic. It's elegant, powerful, and proven. So, let's get real. Are you currently investing in index funds? Or are you holding on to expensive mutual funds Employer-selected plans with hidden fees? Or even worse, sitting on cash that's losing value to inflation? Here's your challenge for today. Do you know your fund's fees? What are you really paying? And what is it costing you in the long run? Most people have no idea. It's time to find out. Check your 401k, your IRA, your brokerage account. Look at the expense ratio of your investments. If it's above 0.2%, it's time to rethink. Take action. Open a Vanguard account. Choose VTSAX or its ETF equivalent, VTI. Set up automatic contributions. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. And if you're outside the U.S., find a broad, low-cost index fund that tracks your local or global market. The principle is the same: simplicity, low fees, wide exposure. There's one more thing to remember. Investing isn't about maximizing returns. It's about buying your freedom. Index funds aren't sexy, but they're incredibly effective. They give you time back, peace of mind. They remove the stress and complexity that derail so many investors. They allow you to focus on what matters most: living your life, pursuing your dreams, and becoming truly wealthy. Not just in money, but in time and choice. J.L. Collins didn't invent index funds, but he might be their most passionate evangelist. Why? Because they work. They've worked for decades. They've worked through wars, crashes, recessions, and bubbles. And they'll continue to work as long as businesses grow and economies evolve. That's the bet, and it's a good one. So trust the path. Keep it simple. Let the magic of index funds carry you forward. And when you look back years from now, you'll be amazed at how such a humble strategy could deliver such extraordinary results. The magic isn't in complexity. It's in clarity, in consistency, in choosing the right vehicle and staying the course. That's the real power of index funds. Section 7. Why most financial advisors are not on your side. Let's get brutally honest for a moment. When you think of a financial advisor, what comes to mind? A trusted expert? A guide to your future? A partner in building your dreams? Unfortunately, for many people, that image is far from reality. In The Simple Path to Wealth, J.L. Collins pulls back the curtain on an uncomfortable truth. Most financial advisors are not working in your best interest. Instead, many are glorified salespeople, trained not to help you grow your wealth, but to grow their own. That's the core idea of this chapter. Most financial advisors are not fiduciaries. That word, fiduciary, matters more than you might think. A fiduciary is legally required to put your interests first, above their own. Sounds like a no-brainer, right? You'd assume anyone managing your life savings would have that obligation. But here's the shocker. Most financial advisors are not fiduciaries. They operate under what's called a suitability standard, which only requires that the products they recommend are suitable, not best. That loophole opens the door to all kinds of abuse. What does that mean in practice? It means advisors can, and often do, push high-fee mutual funds, insurance-based investment products like annuities, and commission-heavy portfolios, even when better, cheaper alternatives exist. Why? Because they earn more money that way. And the worst part? It's perfectly legal under current regulations. Let's say an advisor has two funds to offer you. One is a low-cost index fund like VTSAX, with an expense ratio of 0.04%. The other is a managed fund that charges 1.5% annually and pays the advisor a nice fat commission. If both funds are suitable for your needs, there's nothing stopping that advisor from putting you in the expensive one, even though it will cost you tens of thousands of dollars over time. And most people will never know. Because these fees, they're often hidden, buried in fine print, subtracted from your returns so silently you don't even feel the pain until it's too late. Here's the painful truth J.L. Collins lays out. Fees are the enemy of compounding. It's not just the fee itself. It's the lost growth on that money over time. Let's break it down. Suppose you invest $100,000 in a fund that earns 7% per year for 30 years. With no fees, you'll end up with about $761,000. Now add a 1% annual fee. That drops your total to $574,000, a difference of nearly $187,000, all because of one seemingly tiny percentage point. That's the hidden tax of poor advice. And it gets worse. Many advisors also churn your account, buying and selling frequently to generate commissions. They might encourage you to rebalance too often, switch to trendier funds, or diversify into complex financial products you don't understand and they don't fully explain. This is not strategy. It's sales disguised as service, and you're the one paying for it. But it doesn't have to be this way. Collins offers a simple, liberating truth. You are smart enough to manage your own money. You don't need an advisor to pick stocks, time the market, or create complicated charts. What you need is a system. Simple, low-cost, proven, and the discipline to stick with it. That's what the simple path to wealth is all about. Collins argues that a basic portfolio, like 100% in a total stock market index fund, beats 90% of what most advisors will give you. No complexity, no commissions, just steady, long-term growth. Now, to be fair, not all financial advisors are bad. There are excellent ones out there, but they are rare, and you need to know how to find them. Step 1. Only work with fiduciaries. Ask them directly. Are you a fiduciary? Are you legally obligated to act in my best interest 100% of the time? If the answer is anything less than an enthusiastic yes, walk away. Step 2. Understand how they're compensated. Fee-only advisors, who charge a flat fee or hourly rate, are generally more trustworthy than commission-based advisors. Avoid anyone who makes money only when you buy what they're selling. Step 3. Educate yourself. You don't need a PhD in finance. You just need to understand a few core principles, spend less than you earn, avoid debt, invest in low-cost index funds, and stay the course. That's it. The rest is noise. Once you internalize that, you'll realize you don't need someone else managing your money, because you already know what to do. You don't need permission to be financially free. You need clarity, confidence, and consistency. Collins shares the story of people who lost years, even decades, of compounding growth because they trusted the wrong advisor. One man followed his advisor's recommendations for 20 years, only to realize he'd paid over $80,000 in fees and underperformed the market by a wide margin. Another woman had her entire IRA in expensive annuities, earning dismal returns while her advisor collected fat commissions. These stories aren't rare. They're everywhere. And they highlight a sobering truth. Bad financial advice isn't just costly, it's devastating. So, here's your challenge today. Look at your investments. Who benefits more, you or your advisor? What fees are you paying? What are the returns compared to a simple index fund? Are you being sold products, or are you being taught principles? And most importantly, do you understand what's happening with your money? Or are you blindly trusting someone else to figure it out? If you don't like the answers, it's time to take back control. Start learning. Ask questions. Read books. Watch videos. Trust yourself more than the sales pitch. The more you know, the fewer mistakes you'll make. And the beauty of the simple path is this: you don't need to be a financial wizard. You just need to not be taken advantage of. The financial industry thrives on your confusion. It profits from complexity. But wealth isn't complicated. It's about habits, patience, and smart choices. When you strip away the layers of noise and sales tactics, what's left is the truth. You can build wealth on your own. And you can do it better, faster, and cheaper than most experts. So don't outsource your future to someone who doesn't care as much as you do. Don't let hidden fees eat your freedom. Take the wheel. Steer your own financial journey. Because once you understand that most financial advisors are not on your side, you gain the power to make sure your money is working for you, and no one else. Section 8. The Wealth Building Formula. If there's one formula that can transform your life, give you peace of mind, and lead you to financial freedom, it's this: save, invest. Wait. That's it. 3 steps. No Wall Street wizardry. No get-rich-quick schemes. Just consistent action and the power of time. In The Simple Path to Wealth, J.L. Collins calls this the fundamental engine of wealth creation. It's simple, elegant, and foolproof if you stick to it. Let's start with the first piece of the formula: save. You cannot build wealth if you don't consistently set aside a portion of what you earn. Sounds obvious, but for most people, saving is the hardest part. Why? Because we live in a world that encourages consumption at every turn. From flashy ads and social media envy to peer pressure and lifestyle creep, we're constantly being told that spending equals success. But the truth is, every dollar you don't spend is a dollar that can start working for your future. Collins insists that your savings rate is the most important factor in how fast you can achieve financial independence. Forget how smart your investments are. If you're only saving 2% of your income, you'll be working forever. But if you can save 20%, 30%, even 50%, you dramatically shorten the time it takes to buy your freedom. The math is stunning. Save half your income, and you could retire in just 15 to 17 years. And you don't need to win the lottery or earn 6 figures to do it. You just need to live below your means and make saving a habit. Once you're saving, the next step is to invest. This is where your money starts to multiply. Collins recommends investing in broad-based, low-cost index funds like VTSAX because they give you exposure to the entire market with minimal fees and maximum simplicity. The goal isn't to beat the market, it's to own the market and let it do the heavy lifting over time. This is where the third piece of the formula comes in. Wait. Patience is what turns small savings into massive results. When you invest consistently over decades, compounding begins to work its magic. It's like a snowball rolling down a mountain. Slow at first, but eventually unstoppable. Albert Einstein called compound interest the 8th wonder of the world, and he wasn't wrong. It's the most powerful wealth-building force on the planet. And all it asks of you is time and discipline. Let's break it down with a real-world example. Suppose you invest $500 per month in an index fund earning an average of 7% annually. After 10 years, you'll have around $85,000. After 20 years, it's nearly $250,000. And after 30 years, over $566,000. That's not magic. That's math. And the more you invest, or the earlier you start, the more exponential your growth becomes. Just imagine what happens if you invest $1,000 a month, or $2,000. The numbers get big, fast, and you didn't have to pick stocks, time the market, or hire an expensive advisor. You just followed the formula. Save greater than invest, greater than wait. Here's the key. You have to stay consistent. That means saving automatically every month, investing without emotion, ignoring the headlines, the market crashes, the fear-mongering pundits. The market will rise, it will fall. But over the long haul, it always trends up. Don't let short-term panic derail your long-term plan. As Collins puts it, the market always recovers. Stay the course. One powerful way to stay on track is to automate everything. Automate your savings so money goes straight from your paycheck to your investment account. Automate your investments so they buy shares on a regular schedule, regardless of what the market's doing. This removes the temptation to time the market or wait for the right moment. There is no perfect moment. The best time to invest was yesterday. The second best time is today. When you automate, you also eliminate decision fatigue. You don't have to worry about whether to buy or sell or what the market's doing. Your plan runs in the background like a financial autopilot, and the less you tinker, the better off you'll be. History shows that investors who do the least, who buy and hold, tend to earn the most. Now, some people might say, "That sounds too slow. I want to be rich now." But here's the thing. Fast wealth is often fragile wealth. Lottery winners, overnight successes, and speculative gamblers often end up broke because they never learned discipline. True wealth, lasting wealth, is built slowly, steadily, and intentionally. It's not about hype, it's about habits. And this formula gives you the habits that work. Let's return to the core of the message. This is not rocket science. You don't need to master complex financial models. You just need to make a commitment to save, invest, and wait. That's the simple path. And it works across income levels, economic cycles, and generations. It's been tested. It's proven. And best of all, it's in your control. One of the most inspiring aspects of this formula is how accessible it is. J.L. Collins originally wrote these lessons in letters to his daughter, not to hedge fund managers or finance nerds, but to a young adult just starting out. He wanted her, and by extension, all of us, to know that wealth is not reserved for the elite. It's available to anyone willing to be intentional. You don't need a fancy degree. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. So here's your challenge today. Could you automate 10 to 20% of your income starting today? Could you set up a system where your money flows effortlessly from your paycheck into investments before you even see it? Could you commit to sticking with it through the ups and downs for 10, 20, 30 years? Because if you do, the outcome is virtually guaranteed. Freedom. The ability to work because you want to, not because you have to. The ability to walk away from stress, from debt, from scarcity. The ability to live life on your terms. This is the wealth-building formula, and it's yours to use. Section 9. Market crashes are opportunities, not disasters. Let's get one thing straight right now. The market will crash. Not once, not twice, but many times during your lifetime. And every time it happens, headlines will scream, "Financial collapse." Panic will spread like wildfire, and everyone around you will start talking about pulling out their money, just until things calm down. But if you've read The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, you already know. Market crashes are not disasters. They're golden opportunities dressed in scary headlines. This is one of the most vital mindset shifts in investing. Understanding it and applying it can be the dividing line between becoming wealthy or broke. Because here's the brutal truth. Most people don't lose money in the stock market because the market fails. They lose because they panic and sell. They act on fear instead of strategy, emotion instead of logic. Collins drives this point home by reminding us the stock market is a wild ride. But over the long term, it always goes up. It's never a straight line. It's more like a roller coaster that ends higher than it started. The only people who get hurt are the ones who jump off mid-ride. Let's take a step back and look at history. In 2008, the market plunged. The S&P 500 lost over 50% of its value. People were terrified. Retirement accounts were cut in half. The media made it sound like the financial world was ending. Many investors, including those close to retirement, bailed out. They sold everything at the bottom and waited for things to settle. But guess what? The market recovered. In fact, it went on to reach record highs in the following years. And those who stayed in? They not only recovered their losses, they grew wealthier than ever. That's the secret most people miss. Market crashes are temporary. Recovery is inevitable. If you zoom out and look at the market over decades, it's clear. Every crash is followed by a rebound. Not some of them, all of them. The Great Depression, Black Monday, the dot-com bust, the Great Recession, the COVID crash. Every single one came with a surge of fear and was followed by a rebound. The long-term investor wins every time, as long as they don't sell. So what does Collins recommend? Stay the course. Don't sell. Don't flinch. Don't check your account every hour when things get scary. The market goes up and down, but the trend is always up. And if you can stomach the temporary drops, you will reap the long-term rewards. In fact, Collins doesn't just say you should not fear market crashes. He says you should celebrate them. Why? Because a downturn is the best time to buy. Prices are low. Everything is on sale. It's like walking into a store where all the best products are 30 to 50% off. Would you run out of the store in fear? Of course not. You'd buy as much as you could. The same logic applies to investing. If you're still in your wealth-building phase, meaning you're still working, saving, and buying into the market, then a crash is a gift. It's the universe offering you more shares for your money. And the more shares you own, the more wealth you build when the market eventually rebounds. But this is easier said than done, right? When the market drops, it's terrifying. Your account shrinks. People are panicking. The news is all doom and gloom. It's hard to stay calm. That's why Collins emphasizes emotional discipline as one of the most important skills any investor can build. You have to train yourself now to react rationally then. Think of it like fire drills. We practice them so that when there's a real emergency, we don't freak out. We act with clarity. Your fire drill for investing is this. Decide today how you'll act when the market drops 30%, 40%, even 50%. Will you panic and sell? Or will you stick to your plan, trust history, and buy more? Here's something powerful to consider. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, has always looked forward to bear markets. He calls them a chance to buy when there's blood in the streets. Why? Because fear leads to underpricing. And buying undervalued assets is the best way to build wealth. In that spirit, you can choose to see every crash as a gift, not a threat. Collins also reminds us of the illusion of control. Many people think they can time the market, sell before the drop, and buy back in at the bottom. But that strategy almost never works. Why? Because you have to be right twice. When to sell and when to buy back in. Miss one of those, and you've hurt yourself far more than if you had just stayed put. In contrast, the buy-and-hold investor doesn't try to be clever. They just keep investing, rain or shine, and they come out ahead almost every time. Let's revisit a real-world example from 2008. Imagine two investors, Sarah and Mark. both had $200,000 in retirement accounts. When the crash hit, Sarah panicked and sold everything. Mark stayed put. In fact, he kept investing monthly. By 2013, Mark's portfolio had not only recovered, it had grown. Sarah, meanwhile, sat in cash, waiting for the right time to get back in, but fear held her back. She missed the rebound, and her financial future suffered as a result. This isn't just about money. It's about your future freedom. Every time you sell in a panic, you delay your financial independence. Every time you let fear win, you hand over your power. Collins wants you to reclaim that power with knowledge, discipline, and a long-term mindset. So how do you prepare practically? 1. Build your emotional armor now. Read books like The Simple Path to Wealth. Understand the history of the market. Know that crashes are normal and temporary. 2. Automate your investments. Keep buying on a schedule, no matter what the market is doing. 3. Turn off the noise. Avoid financial news and emotional investing forums during downturns. Stay focused. 4. Reframe your thinking. Say this out loud. When the market crashes, I will buy more. Crashes are sales, not signals to run. 5. Keep a crash journal. Write down your plan now, how you will respond during the next downturn. Refer to it when emotions rise. And here's your challenge for today. How will you react next time the market drops 30%? Will you panic like the crowd? Or will you smile like a seasoned investor, knowing that fortune favors the brave and the disciplined? Remember, the market is a wealth machine, but only for those who can stay on the ride, especially when it gets rough. So buckle up, trust the process, and know this: every crash is just another chapter in your journey to financial freedom. Section 10. Reaching Financial Independence. Financial independence, or FI, is more than just a trending hashtag or a dream for early retirees sipping coffee on a beach. It's the heartbeat of the simple path to wealth. It's the ultimate goal behind every dollar you save, every investment you make, every unnecessary expense you choose to forego. Financial independence means your investments generate enough income to support your lifestyle, whether you choose to work or not. Let that sink in. When you achieve FI, you no longer work because you have to. You work because you want to. You can choose projects you love, people you enjoy, and causes that inspire you. Or choose to not work at all. You reclaim ownership of your time, and with it, your life. J.L. Collins calls FIFU money on steroids. It's not just a 6-month or 1-year emergency fund, it's permanent freedom. It's waking up on a Monday and doing exactly what you want, without asking for vacation time or fearing bills at the end of the month. It's having control over where you live, what you do, and who you spend your time with. Now, the path to FI isn't complicated, and that's the beauty of this book. Collins simplifies the journey in a way that feels doable, no matter your income level. The formula is straightforward. Spend less than you earn. Save the difference. Invest in index funds. Wait, that's it. There's no secret club, no hedge fund strategy, no advanced calculus. Just a commitment to discipline, patience, and living intentionally. So how do you know when you've actually reached financial independence? That's where the 4% rule comes in, a game-changing concept derived from the Trinity study, a famous piece of research that examined retirement withdrawals over different time periods. The conclusion? If you withdraw no more than 4% of your portfolio annually, your money is statistically very likely to last at least 30 years, often far longer. In simpler terms, if your annual expenses are $40,000 and your portfolio is $1 million, you're financially independent. Why? Because 4% of $1 million is $40,000, and you can live off that amount without touching the principal. Your investments continue to grow even as you withdraw. That's the magic of long-term compounding and conservative withdrawals. To calculate your own FI number, just multiply your annual expenses by 25, since 1 divided by 0.04 equals 25. If you spend $30,000 per year, your FI number is $750,000. If you spend $50,000 per year, your FI number is $1.25 million. The lower your expenses, the lower your FI number. That's why frugality is a superpower on this journey. Every unnecessary expense you cut shaves years off your working life. Every dollar you save today gets you one step closer to freedom tomorrow. Let's look at a real-world example. Meet Chris and Jen, a married couple in their mid-30s. They were both earning decent incomes, but realized they were trapped in a cycle of spending, stress, and working just to keep up. After discovering Collins's work, they made a shift. They simplified their lives, moved to a smaller home, cut unnecessary expenses, and committed to saving 50% of their income. They invested everything in a total stock market index fund, VTSAX, and kept their lifestyle lean. Within 10 years, they had accumulated $800,000. Their annual expenses? $32,000. That's 4% of their portfolio. Today, they're fully financially independent, and they both left their full-time jobs in their early 40s. They travel, volunteer, and work on passion projects. No bosses, no time clocks, just freedom. That's not a fantasy. That's math. That's the power of the 4% rule when paired with consistent saving and smart investing. But let's address the elephant in the room. What if the market crashes? What if inflation rises? What if 4% is too aggressive? Collins tackles these fears with wisdom and data. First, the 4% rule is built with a safety cushion. In fact, many who follow this guideline end up with more money after 30 years than when they started, even after withdrawals. Second, flexibility is key. In a down year, you can cut back a bit. You can skip a vacation, reduce discretionary spending, or temporarily withdraw less. FI doesn't mean rigid rules. It means empowered choices. Another concern people raise is healthcare, especially in countries without universal coverage. Collins acknowledges this reality, but offers hope. With time, education, and smart planning, including health savings accounts and insurance strategies, this hurdle can be managed. Don't let uncertainty stop you from pursuing a better future. Now, reaching FI doesn't mean you have to retire early. That's a common misconception. The R in FIRE, financial independence, retire early, is optional. What really matters is the FI part. Once you're financially independent, you get to design your life on your terms. You might keep working, but with joy instead of desperation. You might start a business, become a consultant, teach, write, travel, or dedicate your time to causes you care about. FI gives you options, and options are the real luxury. So how do you apply this practically, starting today? 1. Calculate your FI number. Multiply your current annual expenses by 25. That's your target. 2. Track your spending. Know where your money goes each month. Awareness is power. 3. Cut the fluff. Every recurring subscription, luxury car payment, and impulse purchase delays your freedom. 5. Increase your income. Side hustles, job changes, or career moves can supercharge your savings rate. 5. Invest consistently. Automate contributions to index funds like VTSAX or similar. 6. Celebrate milestones. Every $10,000 saved is a brick in the foundation of your future. 7. Surround yourself with support. Podcasts, books, online communities. Stay inspired and accountable. One of the most profound insights from Collins is this: the path to financial independence isn't about deprivation. It's about alignment. When your spending reflects your values, and not just your impulses, you realize you don't need much to be happy. You find joy in simplicity, power in patience, and purpose in progress. Let's wrap this up with today's challenge. What's your FI number? Write it down. Own it. Then ask yourself, how close are you? What would it take to reach it in 10 years? 5. What if you could cut your timeline in half? This isn't just theory. This is your life. Every day you make a choice. Delay your freedom or accelerate it. Every dollar has a job: to either buy stuff or buy time. Choose time. Because at the end of the day, financial independence isn't about money. It's about freedom, control, and the power to live life on your terms. Section 11. The Simple Path for Life. At the end of the day, The Simple Path to Wealth lives up to its name not just as a book title, but as a way of life. Simplicity isn't just a financial strategy. It's a philosophy, a compass that keeps you steady when the world tempts you with noise, hype, and complexity. In this final section, we tie everything together by recognizing that the path to financial freedom is not a complicated algorithm or secret stock-picking formula. It's a clear, simple, powerful approach. Spend less than you earn, invest the surplus in low-cost index funds, avoid debt, and let time do the work. Stay the course, and you win. It really is that simple. But simplicity, as J.L. Collins reminds us, doesn't mean easy. In fact, sticking to a simple plan can often be harder than chasing the latest investment trends, because it requires discipline, emotional control, and trust in a long-term vision, especially when the media is screaming about the latest crash or boom. Complexity is seductive. Wall Street thrives on it. Financial experts profit from it. But it often leads to bad decisions, high fees, and unnecessary stress. Simplicity, on the other hand, creates clarity. It gives you peace of mind, consistency, and the mental bandwidth to focus on what truly matters in life. So, let's revisit the essence of this simple path and why it works not just for a season, but for life. First, you've learned that money is just a tool. It's not the end goal. Freedom is. With that clarity, you can align your financial behavior with your deepest values. You're no longer chasing the newest car, the biggest house, or the trendiest gadgets. Instead, you're building something far more meaningful: your independence, your peace, your legacy. Then you learned about the dangers of debt and how it robs your future to pay for today's fleeting pleasures. You understood that living within your means, and ideally below your means, is the cornerstone of wealth. Every dollar saved is a brick in your foundation of freedom. Every debt avoided is a chain unshackled. You also saw the raw power of spending less than you earn. It's simple arithmetic, but it's also radical in a consumer-driven world. This single principle, applied consistently, puts you ahead of 90% of people. It creates a surplus you can then invest, your ticket to long-term wealth. And that brings us to the mighty stock market, not as a casino, but as your ally. When used correctly, the market rewards discipline and patience. It's the ultimate tool for turning modest savings into a life-changing fortune, if you avoid the trap of speculation and instead embrace the slow, steady power of broad-based index funds. You don't need to pick winning stocks. You just need to own the whole market, stay invested, and ride the wave of long-term growth. You also learned that FU money, a cushion of savings, isn't just financial security. It's emotional security. It gives you the power to walk away from toxic situations, speak up for yourself, take risks, and live authentically. With enough financial runway, you stop living in fear and start living in freedom. In later sections, we covered the importance of being your own advisor, or at least understanding how to spot good ones. The sad truth is that many so-called financial experts are salespeople in disguise, profiting from your ignorance. The solution? Educate yourself. Stick to index funds. Learn the basics. The truth is, you can manage your own money better than most professionals, especially when you keep it simple and low cost. Then came the power of the formula. Save, invest, wait. Patience is your silent partner. Time is the secret sauce. Let compounding do its thing, and wealth will come. Not overnight, but inevitably. Even market crashes, which terrify so many investors, become opportunities on this path. You no longer panic when stocks fall. You smile because you're buying at a discount. You've trained your mind to see the long-term picture, not short-term noise. And eventually, you reach financial independence. Not because you won the lottery or struck a lucky deal, but because you followed a plan and stayed consistent. You understand your FI number. You know how to live within it. And you've bought your freedom. Now your time belongs to you, and no one else. Which brings us back to where we started. Simplicity. The simple path doesn't end when you hit your FI number. It becomes your way of life. Even after you make it, you don't suddenly start chasing complexity. You don't ditch VTSAX for speculative investments. You don't inflate your lifestyle just because you can. You stay grounded. You stay humble. You stick to the system that got you there. That's exactly what J.L. Collins has done. After decades of following this path, he lives a life of freedom, peace, and purpose. He doesn't live lavishly. He doesn't need to. His wealth provides options, not opulence. He writes, travels, and shares this message with the world because he wants others to experience the same liberation. And here's the beautiful part. This simple path works whether you make $40,000 a year or $400,000. It's not about how much you earn. It's about how much you keep and what you do with it. That's why this approach has helped everyone from young professionals to teachers, mechanics, freelancers, and retirees. It's universal, it's timeless, and it's life-changing, but only if you commit to it. So here's your challenge. Are you ready to commit to the simple path for the next 10 years? Not as a fad, not as a test, but as a lifestyle. Are you ready to reject complexity, silence the noise, and embrace the boring brilliance of index investing, frugal living, and long-term thinking? Because here's the truth. 10 years from now, you'll either wish you started today, or you'll be grateful you did. Choose gratitude. Choose freedom. Choose the simple path for life. If you've made it this far, you've taken a powerful first step, not just toward understanding the simple path to wealth, but toward transforming your entire financial future. If you found value in this video, please like it, share it with someone who needs financial freedom, and comment below your favorite insight. Was it the power of FU money? The simplicity of index funds? Or the confidence to ignore the market noise and stay the course? Whatever it was, speak it out loud. Share it with the community. And subscribe if you haven't. Because your path to wealth doesn't end here. This is just the beginning. Let's walk it together. Simply, consistently, and powerfully.